was
the
the
wasted,
but wasted having the best time with the best player in the world on top of the world. To now fired. Like, it's just the coaching in the NBA is.
But you just said it, though, the roller coaster that they've been on, the ups and downs of the season. What was the one thing that you can count on? He had the best player in the world on his team. So it wasn't necessarily coaching. And we both know, Chandler, a head coach in the NBA, that's not a long-term gig. You know, coaches are hired to get fired. That's what they say. That's the term. Like, we probably can count on one hand the amount of coaches in the league that's had the same job for 10 years. This is not something that you do for the longevity of the league, especially with just one team, by the way. You know, and so with that, everything has to be taken into account, you know, and when you have something like this happens, you go back and you do a history lesson, right? Let go of KCP, you let go of Bruce Brown, you bring in other guys and it don't necessarily work out, and you're 2 years removed from their parade, and now you got an organization, they bit the bug. We want to get back to that parade. And they
that makes sense to fire the GM. But the coach is like a different thing, right?
Well, now apparently, and again, not just basketball-wise, too, I agree that this team is too good to be where they are. They are a game outside the play-in tournament right now, but also the Western Conference is loaded and balanced this year and stacked, but...
Who would you blame, though? If they're a game out of the play-in, would you blame the players or would you blame the coaches at this point?
I would have fired Booth first for not re-signing Bruce Brown and letting KCP go and Jeff Green, guys that were valuable to that championship team. I would have done that. But now on the flip side, all the reports saying if Malone lost the locker room and the players don't mess with him like that anymore,
that's a bigger issue.
That's a huge issue.
Are we hearing that?
So
like, what are we hearing?
100%. Okay. Apparently, there was the guy was very demanding, and I guess didn't get along great with, and there was not a good work dynamic with the players and Malone, which is crazy to me from the outside looking in, because he seems awesome from the outside looking in.
He does.
But listen, if you win a championship and you're already a jerk, and now you become a mad scientist because you want to get there, and now you're an even bigger jerk, and your team is starting to go through things, you're starting to reel a little bit. That's when your personality, that's when your locker room and all of these little things become to get amplified, right? And that's probably what this is. You know, like Mike Malone, nobody's questioning his coaching ability. But if you lose the locker room and it's a personality issue and you have a front office that feels like we've probably peaked with this group, let's go ahead and move on.
And as a player too, it's almost got to feel good in a way that right before that means the front office, the ownership believes in this roster. They think this talent is good enough, and clearly they think the issue is the GM and the coach. So you know what? Now here's what we're going to give you.
Who puts the roster together?
I'm just saying, like, they clearly Kroenke and those guys, they think that this team has enough, which I do too, kind of. I still believe in them. They're not. I think they're a top 3 team, top 2 team in the Western Conference, which is crazy when they just see they make a move like this. But now it's all on the players. I always say this, when the coaches get fired and now the GM gets fired, they get fired on the same day, everything now is going to fall on that team, and they know that. And hopefully this impacts them positively, and they have a nice run here in the postseason. If not, they're going to have some serious decisions to make this summer. Do
you think that this firing heals Jamal Murray's hamstring? Do you think that'll have some sort of an effect? Oh, interesting, because that seems like a big part of this as well. You mentioned the ownership. This is what I think is interesting about that, because according to Sham, shout out, ownership felt that there were signs that this was not going to end well. Okay, fine, we can all do that. But they also apparently wanted Michael Malone to play younger guys instead of giving big minutes to some Russell Westbrook. Let's just say who it was. So does that mean you believe in your roster, or that you are trying to control and micromanage, Lou?
Well, at the end of the day, when you own something, you can do what you want with it. and if you have an idea as ownership, the way that you want your organization to go, and you're putting people in a position to be the head of that, and they're going in a different direction, it's your right, whether it's a popular opinion or not, to go in a direction that needs to be done for you to be happy with your organization. And again, you move on from your coach, you move on from your GM, but the message being sent out is, we believe in this roster, we believe in these guys, and so now you're going to bring in an interim coach, and I guarantee you one thing, whoever these young guys are that they wanted to play more minutes, they will play more minutes. So if you want that to happen, you have to put somebody in a position to go out and execute your mission statement.
Here's the thing. Josh Kroenke, governor of the Nuggets, sent a message to all the players after this thing and said, quote, play hard, have fun. He also said that he would love to see the team play with joy again. So, you know, Were they not playing with joy? I mean, maybe I missed it. Maybe it was obvious.
I mean, that message right there, yeah, that means like, okay, yeah, he's gone. Now he can have fun, is how I kind of read into
dead?
it. Yeah,
what
like,
is that?
And now you have a substitute teacher. You can get away with murder and, watch a movie.
Yeah, how's that working out for John Morant?
You know what I mean? That, to me, is what that sounds like. And again, I do think this team is very good. I think they are a contender this year, and they haven't been showing it. And they've been playing awful. Last 4 games have been brutal. And again, if this is a personality thing and he's lost the locker room, I agree with the point that why wait? Why not do it now? But again, this is just a cold business, man. Like 4 of the last 6 championship coaches have been fired. Yeah. This is like it is crazy.
But you know what else though, Chandler? We make such a fuss with players about culture and environment when you have a player that's disruptive, right? And he makes it hard to come to work every day. And we'll talk for weeks and weeks about a guy getting traded, and we almost get to a point where we kind of root for him to get traded based on the narratives. So if we're talking about a coach that has lost the locker room, the players don't like to work with, don't like to work beside him, why are they immune to that? Why are they immune to
basketball? That matters more.
So when these type of things happen, we got to take that into account as well.
And a GM and a coach can have kind of a head-butting situation when they want to develop the young guys. And Malone wants to win right now and play Russ 30 minutes. And he wants to save his job and save his season and put wins on the board as a head coach should. So that happens everywhere. I guess more so here, where Booth wanted the development of more of these young guys, and Malone wants to win right now, which I agree with. I think right now you have Jokic, who's the best player in the world. You should maximize that right now. And I feel like that's what Malone's been doing, to be honest with you. So I think from that aspect, I feel for the dude. No doubt he gets another chance. There's obviously going to be some jobs this summer. Same with the Memphis coach, Jenkins. Those guys are too good of coaches to this be their last stop.
I think they should do a podcast real quick.
They're just going to rotate. You know, it's all assessment. They'll just work.
Obviously, when this news came out yesterday, everyone's trying to think back and be like, well, when did this all fall apart? So there's a moment a few weeks ago. This is after Denver lost to the Trailblazers. Here's Michael Malone. That was difficult.
It was a brutally honest message, and the guys that are full of won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film.
Ooh, that was a little.
This seemed a little passive aggressive. I didn't like this. This seemed like the beginning of the end. This was personal. This was a shot at the team, at that locker room, and this is something that should have been kept internally. We always say it, throughout the league. Like there's some certain things that don't get out. This felt like a jab publicly to his team.
Yeah.
And look where it got you. So again, this is just part of the stuff I think that's been adding up for a while. The writing seemed like it was on the wall here 2 weeks ago, and that was a frustrated dude right there who clearly just wanted to say that. He knew that he's a smart guy. He knew that was probably not the right thing to say and to challenge and call out your teammate like that or your team like that. But
well, not if you're on thin ice.
Felt a little passive aggressive to me.
And Chandler, we've both played on teams where we have a coach where it feels like it's the players versus the coaching staff. But great teams, you work side by side with the coaching staffs because you all have one competitive goal. You all want to compete for a championship, right? So when you get to a place where your coach is talking in this manner, it's one thing to challenge your team. It's another thing to talk down. Like, that felt like talking down.
Yeah.
So when you get to this place, it's almost impossible to continue on this road with that being your leader. If you're not with me, if you're not in these foxholes, in these trenches, willing to get down and dirty with me, in a positive way where we can get to our common goal, then it is time to move on. So again, we make a fuss about players. Imagine if a player said this exact same thing about his teammates. We would go crazy. We would lose our minds about that guy. So coaches shouldn't be immune to this type of scrutiny.
But if he was on good, solid ground, I think he can get away with that because it's like, oh, he's trying to light a fire.
But what if a player...
But it's the difference between lighting a fire and just being critical.
Also, what if a player said this about the coach? Oh, we don't watch enough film, or, coach didn't give me film.
But we have heard sort of like these... So it's a little passive-aggressive, but we have heard it. Like, I've heard Pop say things before, but Pop's not getting fired. So it's like, I think it depends on where you are. If this was Michael Malone 2 months after winning a championship, I don't think anybody even blinks. But now it looks bad in hindsight.
But, Beetle, I would challenge you and say we'll never find a clip of Pop saying, well, my guys don't watch film. They don't want to be challenged.
He did throw that away.
He'll never say anything like that. Now, he will say we can play better when we do watch film.
Fair.
We have to watch film with intention.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you're going to hear great coaches say. And I'm not saying that Mike Malone isn't a great coach, but when your tone and your message gets to this point, no matter what part of the season you're in, it might be time to move on.
He even said they'll say coach is tripping, because this has happened before, and that's probably what they said. So he's now taking personal conversations and putting it out there for us to dissect is never a good idea.
Not great. Well, look, we have to keep it fair. Any other team this happens, we immediately look at the superstar on that team. Did they make this happen? Obviously, in this case, we got to look at Jokic. They're saying did not request it, but I mean,
he may not have requested it, and he may. I don't know the relationship with them, but he damn sure knew about it. I guarantee you do not tell the best player in the world, hey, we're considering doing this. If they don't,
so you think they do it before
if they didn't do that? I think it's weird. I think Jokic deserves that. He should. He has that kind of respect, and he's in that level of stardom where they should bounce ideas off him of the franchise and the state of it, of what they're going.
You don't think they just told him? We just are going to do this?
Listen, Chandler.
He knew. I'm just saying before we knew.
I'm about to say everybody knew. If we're sitting here saying that he lost the locker room, Jokic is in that locker room. So you don't have to, hey, what do you think we should do? Like, everybody knows. Like, clearly there's some internal issues that was going on in Denver that were brewing that just bubbled up into this fire. And it surprised everybody, but probably the Denver Nuggets. Everybody in that organization probably understood that this was probably coming down the pipe. And so when you have a guy like Jokic, you don't have to ask him what he thinks. You already know. You already have a vibe of what's going on. So I feel like, did he know pre-hand? He probably knew a few minutes before it went out. Hey, just letting you know, we're gonna move on from this coach and we're gonna move in a different direction. But asking him, I don't think so, because
put him in a weird spot.
Do you think Jokic has the power and the juice to have saved him? Say, no, don't do it. Let's give him another chance.
Yes.
So, and he didn't. So, like, that's right. And so,
but I'm saying I don't think he was asked. I think you already know that he's unhappy with where it is. And I don't want to put words or feelings into his mouth and what he's feeling about Mike Malone. But again, if we're sitting here saying that sources and all of these other different people are saying he lost the locker room, where does the locker room start? It starts with your best player. So if he's unhappy, this is not a question